My name's Tim Judson and I'm the minister at Honiton Family Church in Devon.
And my name is Charmaine Mhlanga. I'm minister at Sundon Park Baptist Church in Luton. Together we have a privilege of leading you through this introductory exploration of equality and diversity, which is entitled, I Am Because You Are.
We have 6 videos for you to watch, and we strongly encourage you not to watch these alone, but to engage with them in the company of other people. There are some questions for reflection and discussion at the end of each video, so do take the time to work through these videos together. In this first video, we ask why we should be exploring equality and diversity, and why now.
One of the privileges of presenting the resource that Tim and I got to interview a number of people, rather than focusing on those who've experienced difficulty and discrimination within our Baptist movement, most of our interviews targeted those whose views have changed as a result of observing or reflecting on discrimination against others. So as a way of opening up the topic of equality and diversity, let's get straight through to the first interviewee. Wale, welcome. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today as we explore I Am Because You Are. So most people will know you within the Baptist Together family as the racial justice enabler. You've been a vocal champion for racial justice and equality. Could you just help us to understand what is the vision that motivates you to continue to promote awareness and equality and diversity?
It is a strong conviction. It's definitely a conviction that I've had for many years. It's a conviction that is deep within my soul. It's a recognition that all people are created in the image of God. Black people too are obviously created in the image of God, but sadly, a lot of people do not see the image of God in black people and brown people, and so therefore treat them with disrespect. They can often disregard them, they can often marginalize them. What therefore drives me is a recognition that black and brown people, all people, deserve a level playing field and deserve justice.
Wale, you've been instrumental as a force for change amongst us Baptist ministers and churches within our union to consider the importance, the biblical importance of equality and diversity in our life together. I wonder, are there ways in which you yourself have felt challenged to change with regards to these sorts of things yourself?
My parents come from a particular faith community, and as a result of that, the way in which they related to each other was pretty traditional, to say the least. I, as a young child, inculcated some of that negativity, and so as a result, one of the things that I've had to do some deep critical reflection on is how do I treat women? And that's been a huge questioning, reflective process that I've embarked upon, and it's been very transformative. Clearly, my perspectives, the way in which I relate to women has had to radically change, and it has radically changed, but it has been a process, and it's been one where I've had to look into my own soul and ask some very, very serious and very deep questions of myself.
Well, I think that's so interesting that you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable, to take us on your journey of what it's meant for you to be in a place where you're working for equality and diversity, but also acknowledging that there's learning that you're still doing and continue to do. It's so helpful to hear from what you've been saying, because we're talking about taking the time to listen to other people's stories. So thank you for sharing that.
It's a pleasure. One of the one of the men that we've recently been mourning is somebody you wouldn't be familiar with, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And one of the concepts that he kind of promoted and propelled within the South African community was Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is I am because we are, which suggests obviously that we are involved in a covenant relationship, that this is a collegiate thing. We are participating as human beings in growth, in journeying together, in critiquing and challenging each other. And from that comes a certain formation which moves us closer to Christ. And so change is an inevitable part of the Ubuntu concept. And I am committed to my sisters and brothers in this deep covenant relationship. So inevitably, I have to look into myself as others look into me as well. And together, as a community, we grow.
It's really humbling for me thinking about the way that you're on this journey as well, actually, Wale, because you've had a significant impact on my life, particularly in terms of thinking about race and racism. And it can be tempting sometimes to look at people who inform us as those who are the sort of fount of all knowledge, but it's actually quite liberating to know that you are journeying as well. And it's an exciting journey. That's really interesting.
I am because you are. That's a simple translation of a Zulu phrase, which has become known by its shortened form, Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a word beloved by the late Desmond Tutu. He said, a person with Ubuntu is open and available to others, affirming of others, and does not feel threatened that others are able and good. A person with Ubuntu has a proper self-assurance that comes from knowing that he or she belongs in a greater whole and is diminished when others are humiliated or diminished, or when they're treated as if they are less than who they are. I am because you are is also the title of this equality and diversity video, because it hints at the way we are interconnected, a very Baptist concept. God has brought us together in our remarkable diversity. We do not necessarily share the same background, skin color, first language, country of origin, education, class, gender, economic status, sexuality, family circumstances, marital status, physical ability, mental health. The list of differences between us goes on. But God has made us equal in status and privilege in Christ. We have all received God's gift of grace. It is on this basis that we invite you to explore with us our practice of equality and our embrace of diversity.
It's worth saying why we've created this resource now. In part, it's because a good number of ministers asked for it to be made. In June 2020, over 150 accredited ministers signed a letter to the Baptist Union. And the letter was written a month after the murder of George Floyd. That event was a shocking moment of brutality, captured on the phones of those nearby. A white Minneapolis police officer knelt for 9 minutes on the neck of a black man, whilst his white colleagues stood by. And though we live in a different country and different context, the subsequent public outcry and debate caused many of us to stop and to ponder. In what ways have we contributed? Indeed, in what ways have I contributed to discrimination against people who don't share my culture or my colour? The letter to the Baptist Union proposed that the murder of George Floyd and subsequent events had together created an apocalyptic moment in history. In other words, a moment that opened the eyes of many of us to see what had otherwise been hidden. And what many of us saw was racism embedded in our nation, our churches, our Baptist movement, and in ourselves. Sadly, not just racism either. As Charmaine's already said, people can find themselves marginalised because of their gender, disability, sexuality, background, education, and so on.
So the Baptist Union Council made a decision. It asked all accredited ministers to undergo equality and diversity training at regular intervals. This set of videos is the initial response to that request. They are by no means a final word on the topic. For those who have not received equality and diversity training before, the videos can only hope to open up the subject. For those more familiar with some of the themes, we hope the videos will act as a useful reminder and prompt for discussions with others. And though ministers are expected to watch the videos, all the materials have been prepared with a broader audience in mind.
As this brief video concludes, we'd love you to consider some questions in conversation with others. And when you've done that, please feel free to move on to the second video, which explores what discrimination can look like.